Today's video is going to be on my cycle armor. If you are a patron to my Patreon, you've already seen this video, but if not, then welcome to the video. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm annoying. Yes, I know my voice sounds like the way it does. I wish I could fix it, but I can't. I do armor stuff, I occasionally do makeup stuff, and I do costume making for a living. Yeah. This video is going to cover the cost as well as the creation of this armor. A little disclaimer is it was my first time working with LEDs. It was also my first time working with Warbler. Luckily, Warbler is essentially like Play-Doh, so I can get accurate and well-articulated information about that. But in terms of LEDs and stuff like that, I am not the best at it, so I will link a few people in the description box from where I learned to do it. Basically, all I did was look at Jessica Negri's Cindergosa cosplay tutorial where she used the little string LEDs. I actually ended up using the same LEDs that she does, and it worked out great. There's also a few things in the video that I did that I ended up not really enjoying, and I'll go over that in the time-lapse and voiceover portion of the video. But yeah, so this is also like my third time filming this because my camera doesn't like to focus, so yay. Quick, because I know people are going to ask in the comments. The wig that I wore in the intro is from Sapphire Wigs on Amazon. I also want to say I'm really sorry for the shitty intro videos. I don't have anyone that helps me with photos or videography or anything like that, so it's all up to me. I'm the one that edits, is the one in front of the camera and the one in the back of the camera, so sorry if it sucked. I will hopefully be getting help and doing a cosplay showcase soon. I'm revamping Alduin, so I'll have a nice showcase of him as well as the cycle armor. And hopefully I'll have another dragon to add to the list. The reason I chose to do the cycle armor from World of Warcraft is because it kind of involved both armor aspects and sewing aspects, so I could kind of test my knowledge a little bit in both those fields. The last few armor builds I've done are strictly armor, and there's not really much in terms of sewing that I can do, so I thought this would be a really good test of skills. I also want to point out that in the shoulders it's very poorly made, and that's because I made it in 3 days. I work 20-hour days, so I don't really get a lot of time to do my own cosplays. And I'm trying to work on that to fix it because I want to bring you guys more cool stuff. I know I'm like all over the place in this intro. It's been a while. Another thing I wanted to quickly mention is if I don't talk about a specific thing that I'm doing in the video, it's either because it's my first time doing it and I don't feel like I can articulate information very well, or it's because I just suck at explaining stuff. And I feel like I can link somebody's video in the description box that would probably explain it a little bit better than I could, which is a lot. I did have a couple questions. Well, I actually ended up only getting one question. The thing that happens is that I'll ask if people have questions. Nobody has questions until I make the video, and then the questions are all in the comments, and I don't know how to articulate in text form good answers. So that sucks. But the one question I got from Instagram was, how did you get it to fit? Did you use a costume mannequin? For instance, like the actual like boob cups as well as the shoulder pieces, but other than that I just molded it to my body. I'm kind of lucky that I have this mannequin because I have weird proportions and this mannequin has really weird proportions. It's not an adjustable one, unfortunately, which I hope to get at some point, but those are really expensive. I don't think I got any other armor comments or questions that the only other question I got was how I got the LEDs to stay in place, and I will go over that in the rest of the video. It's actually really easy. For the horn pieces, I just wrapped a few LEDs into a little flower, and then I molded thermoplastics around it. Kind of diffused the light and looked really nice, and it made me regret doing the resin gems. But we'll get to that in the actual video. I'm going to skip to me with the armor so that I can kind of give a cost breakdown and stuff. When I do cost breakdowns, there are specific things like resin and insulation foam that I do a cost breakdown by ounce or gram. So if the resin gems I say are $5, it's usually because I buy all my resin supplies in bulk, and I'm just calculating by what it would be buying like 2 of them on eBay or Amazon. I'll try to have as many links as I possibly can, but some of the stuff I do make completely from scratch, including some of the molds, so I won't be able to link those. I will be able to link videos that show you how to do that as well if you don't want to buy your stuff pre-made. With that being said, let's go. Okay, so I'm kind of cut off from the camera, but here is the armor on a mannequin. This is a wire mannequin, so it doesn't really fit very well, as you can see with the belt. Shoulder pads are made out of EVA foam. The horns are all made out of lightweight insulation foam. The fuzzy things right here, I couldn't find any camel shag that wasn't like wasn't like 20 bucks, so I made the shag. It's yarn that I've brushed through and glued onto some cotton. The belt buckle is insulation foam and then covered in Worbla. I actually made my Worbla, and I think I have clips of making it, so you guys will get to see how I did it. Cups are made out of Worbla as well. These details are Worbla. The overall construction is of EVA foam. These little guys are straight up thermoplastics. They don't have any flour, which homemade Worbla is thermoplastics and flour. It's what gives it its sort of opaque look. Looks like dough. These little gems are actually those like fish tank things that you get for your fish tank, and I just painted it with some model paint. The whole thing is pretty much painted with model paints. I didn't use any acrylic paints. The buckle and the headpiece are a mix of model paints and 18 karat gold leaf pin. The gold detailing on the hood is a spandex. It's a gold spandex. My little skirt piece here is 2 pieces of fabric glued on top of each other, and then it is also a bunch of little craft foam scales. The detail right here, this little ball, is actually an ornament. It's an unbreakable glass ornament that I had from when I made ornaments, and I just glued it on there. These little guys that house the gems are of Worbla. This is also insulation foam with Worbla. I made the resin gem here, and I also made the resin gem in here. These little guys are attached with Velcro so that I can put it on top of it, because the Warcraft thing is really weird. It's layered. I'm not going to show how I mount my shoulders. I'm actually going to link you guys to Ryan, aka Fake Nerd Boy here on YouTube. He has a better video of mounting shoulders. My shoulders are shitty, so I wouldn't show them to you anyway because that's gross. The headpiece, how I got everything to stay. These are actually glued on, but there is like an inch of batting on the hood, so it has structure to it. The overall cost breakdown for all this, I'll post a picture right here. I added it all up. The foam was $10. I got a pack of 8 foam mats, EVA foam mats, from Costco for $10. The LEDs from Amazon, I got the biggest pack, I think, and I paid $14. I wasn't sure how many I'd need. They come in packs of 2, I believe. I'll link those below. The fabric was $5 and $7 from Amazon. That's the green fabric and the brown fabric. The Worbla was $13. Flour is like what, $1. The thermoplastic that I got, I believe I did the 10-ounce size of thermoplastic beads. They were $13. Velcro was $3 at Menards. Insulation foam was about $8, depending on the size you get, depending on the width and the type of insulation foam you get, because there's different types. I just use the pink stuff. And the resin gems were $5. You can get clear resin at Hobby Lobby and use your 50% off coupon. I don't really like Hobby Lobby for various reasons. They're all I have in terms of a craft store. And once you break down the cost per ounce and per gram, each resin gem is about $5 per 2. I colored them with food coloring. I would not recommend coloring them with food coloring. They get bubbles and the food coloring sits on top and it just does not look right. So if you have an actual pigment to color it, then that'd be great. Overall, this whole costume costs about $65. You also can use money on Ebates and get some money back in terms of buying supplies. I think I talked about that on a post on Patreon about all that jazz.
Okay, let's get this going. So I'm starting off by getting all my materials. I'm using EVA foam mats. I'm also saving all of the little side pieces that they come with, because I'm going to put them together like this and use them as a belt. I'm one of those use all the pieces of the buffalo kind of person, so yeah. I got this pack of 8 from Costco for about $10, which is an amazing deal considering that 4 of them are usually $20 from Lowe's. They were a little bit thinner and not as densely packed, but I wasn't really worried. So I'm first starting out with doing the pattern of the belt, and I'm just looking at a photo from the Blizzard forum and putting it on to contact paper. I may have it down for download at some point if I can find all the pieces, but it was really easy, and then I just cut it out of insulation foam and then covered it in Warbler. I made this Warbler out of flour and thermoplastics. I will have the tutorial linked down below. Now it's time to make the belt. I just cut all these little pieces up and then I glued them together, and then I matched it to my waist just to make sure it was all fit and everything, and then I just glued them together. Now we're going to start on the shoulders. I'm first heating up the center portion of the shoulder pieces. These are just some standard curved rectangle shaped thingies. And I'm just going to heat them up and then mold them into shoulder pieces. How I'm doing that is I'm just heating up the center and then really folding them in half just to make sure that they keep their rounded shape. A lot of times EVA will stop staying in place, and what I found to be a good idea is to actually clip it or pin them in place when you are molding them. So what you'll see me do is you'll see me put a pin through the top part right here, and it keeps it centered down. That way it won't fling up like that, and it'll actually give you a good shape. Now it's time to make the accent of the belt buckle. I'm just taking the little design that I made of the center portion of the belt buckle and drawing it out onto my piece of insulation foam with a permanent marker, and then I am cutting out all the little pieces, and then I'm going to cut it out with a hot wire. If this is your first time working with insulation foam, I would definitely recommend using a box cutter or a blade, just because the hot wire is a little bit more tough to work with and you can end up ruining your piece if it's small enough and you aren't careful. I've been using this since I was like 10, so I kind of know the ropes, but if it's your first time, then no, please don't do it. It's frustrating and you can ruin your piece. So now, since World of Warcraft has these sort of like chunky graphics, I decided that instead of just sanding it, I would kind of bevel down the edges with a box cutter, and then I'm taking a sanding block and going in one motion on the sides just to smooth everything out. When you're using a sanding block like this with insulation foam, you want to go one way, so it's kind of like filing your nails. Instead of doing it both ways, you have to do it one way, because then it won't make like rough pieces. And then when you gradually go down the grits, you can go back and forth. I'm going from a big grit to a small grit to the point that it is basically just buffing it and making it really smooth. I will have the grits listed right now. And yeah, it looks all pretty and stuff, and I'm gonna glue that into the side, and then we're gonna put Worbla on top of it, because Worbla makes everything better. This is my first time working with Worbla, and at first I kind of sucked at it. When you make it, you have to really know your ratios between the flour and the thermoplastics, because if you put too much flour, it won't stick to your foam, and then you're gonna end up with a big mess. But I really enjoyed it, and I know the hype now. I'm just making a little hook thingy for the fancy little accent that we're gonna put on the bottom out of Worbla, and then I'm taking wire, jewelry wire. I don't know the gauge of this, unfortunately, but I'm just taking it and twisting the ends to give them little loops, and I'm attaching that little floaty thing in the middle with Worbla. World of Warcraft has a lot of floaty things, and well, floaty things don't really exist in nature, so we have to improvise. It all looked really nice up against the loincloth piece, and you couldn't really tell that there was wire, so I recommend using a darker color wire, or if you can, match the wire to the fabric of your skirt. Here it is as a test fit. I ended up putting the Velcro in the front. Not only is that going to make everything a lot more easy to put on, but it just gave it a better look overall. Now we're moving on to the breastplate. I got a lot of questions involving how do I get these to fit? Do I use a dress form? Yada yada yada. I basically just match up, I figure out where it hits on the character, and then I match that to me. So for instance, hers ended at her sternum, or it started at her sternum and ended toward her belly button, so I just did that to fit myself, and it worked out pretty well. I had to pattern this myself as well. What I did was I basically just got the ratios correct to make sure that I had the sizing right, and then I took contact paper and did one side so that I could fold it over and make it more cohesive and similar. I wanted them to be exactly the same, so obviously doing that helped. So see, I do one side, and then I take some contact paper, and then I draw it on that contact paper, and then I can match it to the other side and have it be symmetrical. I wasn't super worried about it being symmetrical with the little triangle piece, because that's easy to fix, but if it's decorative like this little twisty doohickey, then I want it to be symmetrical and I want it to look right. And when I form it to the circumference of my ribs, I just measure my ribs. I measure the biggest part and the lowest part, and then I map that out onto the EVA foam. I usually add about an inch or half an inch just to make sure I have enough to cut off or modify. And then since I don't have a Dremel or anything, I'm actually burning the edges. So if you ever have those little flyaway guys, you can just take a heat gun, blast it onto it, and it burns off all the edges. Now I'm just matching my bra to some Worbla and making cups, and then I'm taking little knitting needles and making holes because I wanted to originally make it into a corset. The other things sped through, so I'm sorry, but it was just me doing the decorative pieces onto the light bulb that goes onto the belt. And then I ended up taking some fabric because I thought it would look really nice as a texture difference. This also makes everything look more cohesive because I don't have a Dremel, so I couldn't do any type of like smoothing out. So I just took this fabric and I matched it up to the breastplate, and then I cut it out, and then I glued it on. You have to be really careful when you glue this stuff on because it melts. I probably should have used a cotton or something, but this is all I had in large quantities. See, it did kind of melt up there. And then I'm just going to use Warbler again to make these little type of decorative pieces that go on the tops of the breastplate right here. And it was really fun to make those. Like, it was really cool, and I cannot wait to make another dragon and use a ton of Warbler. Here I am cutting out my little branch pieces that are going to go on my headpiece and on my shoulders. I'm taking the hot wire and I'm just cutting out these pieces of pink insulation foam. I believe these are either 1.5 inches or 2 inches. And then I'm just going to use that same method of using the box cutter and beveling down the edges to look a little more round. Not only does this cut sanding in half, but it also gives it a more tree-like effect. I cannot draw trees, nor can I craft trees, so this was kind of a challenge, especially since they had to be skinnier toward the end. I failed miserably at it, and you'll see in a second. And now for the shoulder details. I at first was trying to give a texture detail by doing painted shells, and then I tried this type of scoring method where you score the foam and then you run the heat gun on top of it, and it actually worked way better, and I liked the effect it gave, so I'd recommend doing that instead. And now I'm just painting over with some model paint. I ended up going over it with like 4 to 5 layers just because obviously this is meant for model cars instead of EVA foam. So it obviously did not have the same effect that models have, so I had to go over it 4 to 5 times, and I was okay with it because the colors were awesome. Now I'm just putting on some fur trim. I had this lying around and it actually worked really well. Obviously the color is not accurate, but whatever. So here are the elastic straps that I put onto the shoulder piece, and here is the little ball, and here I am putting on my shoulder pauldrons. Do not do what I do. Please watch Ryan's video because he is the master at doing it. Him and Jessica have been doing this way longer than I have, and they know what the heck they're doing. Now I'm just using the pattern that I made for my hood. I cut it out of green cotton, and then I am pinning it together so that I can sew it, and I'm going to cut 2 of those out. Well, 4 of those actually. Here are my gloves, and I put paper inside of the green part just to give it a more structured look. Yes, you can use batting, but it's not going to give it as much of an independent stand as paper will. And here I am priming and painting the entirety of the costume. I tried to do cinnamon from Rust-Oleum at first, but I decided that I wanted it to have a more rustic look, so I put some primer gray on as well and kind of just made it look splotchy to make it look more natural. Now we're going to do resin. These are parts A and B clear easy cast resin, and I got these little molds from Amazon for like $5, I think. I didn't end up buying it for this gem, but it ended up working out perfectly. I bought it for these 2 guys because I thought they were going to be bigger, but oh well, they didn't give me sizes on the listing. I was going in blindly. But this one and the bigger one that I just showed you, these guys, actually worked out amazingly, and they were practically made for this costume, and it made me so happy. So here they are. I colored the resin with food coloring, and I do not recommend you coloring them with food coloring at all, because you see those little splotchies in there? Yeah, they floated to the top and made a huge mess. So please color it with either a resin pigment or a pigment as itself. Yeah. So now we're going to paint the crown part. I'm using a model paints as always. I really liked using model paints on here because I didn't have to put a clear coat on top of them. They were already shiny. I'm using blue and green, and I'm also putting in some white. I also have this stuff called Rub and Buff. It is absolutely amazing if you are trying to make something look like metal. I cannot stress this enough to any other cosplayers. This is literally the best stuff ever. I cannot. You need it in your life. If you make armor or if you make anything from World of Warcraft, it's amazing. So the color that I'm trying to achieve was actually a light, but I couldn't figure out how to get it to light up without buying clear thermoplastics, which clear thermoplastic is only sold by Warbla, and it's like $24 for 4 ounces, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm gonna try and find an easier alternative. It might take a little while to get here, but at least it won't be that expensive, and you'll be able to get a really awesome effect. It'll be in the budgeting section of my Patreon, so yay, that'll be awesome. I am hoping to do that in December, so keep a lookout for that. I'm also going to be putting on some of that 18 karat gold leaf pen. Here is me doing the rub and buff. You basically put it on a cloth and then you just rub it onto whatever you want to look like metal. It is absolutely amazing, and honestly, whoever thought of this is a freaking genius. I mean, look at that. It's amazing. So I wanted to note that the leaf pin that I have and the rub and buff that I have are 2 different golds, so I kind of layered them on top to give it a more antique look. Also, Rub and Buff comes in like a million different colors. You can get like pink, blue, I think you can even get like a metallic black. You can get silver, you can get green. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And any cosplayer that does this type of stuff, you should totally look at it and use it, and yeah! This next step is totally optional, but I thought it would look really cool because of the color that this is. I put some of this gloss green glow-in-the-dark paint because I thought not only would it glow in the dark, but it would actually give it a more accurate look, and it didn't, but it looks cool when it's not at night. Now I'm just taking some wood stain because I thought this would give it a more wood-looking effect, and I'm just painting that on with a chip brush. I would definitely recommend doing this. It does take quite a long time to dry because it's not meant for foam, nor is it meant for Warbler or any thermoplastic like that, but it gives it such an amazing natural wood look that I was so in love with. I didn't have to do many detail pieces on it, like make it look like wood. Like, it generally just looked like wood, and I was so happy with it. I did end up doing just a little bit because of World of Warcraft being so cartoony. I figured it would just look right with doing this. So I took that chip brush and I just started layering both chestnut colors and black paints on top of it. I also had to cover up the logo of the foam, so for these little beads that they have on the armor, I took these little fish beads. I think they're also meant for weddings. But I just took those on and I hot glued them to it. And now I'm just using a white paint pen. I learned this from Jessica Negri. It just makes everything look more World of Warcraft-y, and it makes a lot of the details pop. I'm painting the little gems and the thermoplastic horns with the green model paint, and now I'm making my skirt. This is 2 pieces of This is 2 pieces of fabric that I am putting craft foam on top of. I just made some scales, and I tried my best to match the pattern up to the artwork as possible. It's a little hard because I had to zoom in really far up to the armor to even see what the scales looked like, but I think I did a very good job, or a decent job. But yeah, so hopefully I explained enough of this. If you have any further questions, please leave them in the comments section. I would love to be able to hopefully answer your question. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I hope to make some more dragons soon. So, yeah. Now back to me babbling like an idiot.
My gloves are not finished yet, but here they are. I cut the fingers off of this one so that I can use my phone. But here are the gloves. To get the top parts to stand, I put a piece of paper inside of them. I made them out of blue fleece so that my hands can stay warm because I have bad circulation, and green is what I used on the hood. The overall coat pattern I made myself. I didn't find any pattern for it. I also patterned out the skirt myself as well. Being a seamstress, that's something I have to know how to do. There she is. Everything is sealed in with a clear spray paint. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then you can give it a thumbs up if you want. I don't really care. If you want to see more videos, then please comment down below what armor you want to see next. If you want to see another dragon, if you want to see another World of Warcraft class, or a specific type of like anything. Also, if you want to see tutorials on how to do props, specific props, I can do different videos and different tutorials, then please leave them in the comment section and I might be able to do it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, leave them in the comment section. Please be nice. I don't need to hear about how your eye moves. Yes, I know. I was born like that. Thank you so much. Yeah, so be nice in the comments. My comments have to be approved, so if you comment something nasty thinking that it's going to be approved, then goodbye. Yeah, I now have a store, so if there are any props or whatever, or any costumes, I make Harley suits, I make jackets, I make anything. You can click the link in the description box and it takes you to my store. Also, if I start doing prop request videos, then I'll probably end up selling the props on there. So if you want to get a prop, you can get a prop in the future. Prop is no longer a word now. That's nice. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching. I hope you didn't find me too annoying, because I find me annoying. Yeah.